So hello everyone and welcome. So there might still be a couple people logging on after this, but hopefully most of you are here so far. So thank you so much for joining us today for our Blue Flag Control Visit training session. Yeah, we still have a couple people coming through here. First off, I'm going to put a little link in the chat here, which you are welcome to visit. So this will be the Oh, sorry. Sorry, I just need to pause talking so that we can let everyone in. But this, so the link here that I put in the chat box is your Blue Flag Beach control visit form. So you're more than welcome to follow along if you want throughout this, this workshop. Welcome, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. All right, well, I think that we can get started here. So good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Blue Flag Control Visit training session. So while we're all in different areas, we'd like to do an Indigenous land acknowledgement. So I am in Vancouver, so I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we are gathered out here is the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, including the territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam First Nations. From time immemorial, they have been and still are the stewards of the lands and waters of this area. I'll pass it over to Elise, who will give the Toronto acknowledgement.
Yeah, so I'm located in Toronto, so I'd like to acknowledge that the land that which we gather here today is that of the Mississauga Nishnabeg people, specifically the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. From time immemorial, they have been and still are the stewards of the land and waters of this area. Through our programs at Swim Drink Fish, we have committed to fostering better relationships with Indigenous communities in order to continue the stewardship of our waters, which we all rely on. So thank you for being here.
So first of all, I'd like to take a moment to thank you so much for volunteering your time and offering to conduct a site visit. Because of your help, we are able to succeed in achieving a swimmable, drinkable, and fishable future, and we are just absolutely thrilled about this. We need to keep going, and as we at Swim Drink Fish, we believe that together we can create a network of people who are working towards a common goal, because no one person, no one organization, or one city can fix water quality issues on their own, but together we can make sure that the waters across shorelines in Canada continue to be swimmable, drinkable, and fishable for future generations. So before I introduce our speaker, who will be conducting the training portion today, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping topics. So today's training is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. We welcome you to revisit this content yourself, share it with friends and family. We also invite your comments and questions. So look at the Q&A chat box on your screen. If you think of a question for the speakers at any point, just type it in there and I will either pose it to our speakers at the time, or we might just hold it for a discussion portion at the end of our event. Finally, there are also quite a few people on this call, so we ask that you mute your microphone. I have already done this during the training session. So first off, let's hop into the chat box, and why don't you share where you're located? So for me, I'm in Vancouver. Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing your locations. I'm seeing a lot of Toronto. We do not yet have any Vancouver Blue Flag beaches, so I think I might be one of the only, if very few people located out west. Thank you all so much for sharing. Now we'll pass it over to our other Torontonian, Elise, who will be conducting our presentation. So go ahead, Elise.
Thank you so much. I'm not muted, am I? Great. Okay, so I'm not muted. Thank you so much, Sadie, for that introduction. As Sadie said, I'm Elise. I'm the water stewardship specialist at Swim Drink Fish in the Toronto office. So this is the second session of the Blue Flag Volunteer Control Visit training for Blue Flag beaches. We held another one today from 2 to 3 p.m. So this is the 6 to 7 one if you're in Toronto, and potentially a different time if you're elsewhere. I'll first introduce you a little bit to Swim Drink Fish for those who maybe didn't watch the orientation video. So we are a Canadian charity, and we're working towards swimmable, drinkable, fishable water for everyone. We do this by using citizen science and communications technology to inspire people just like you to know and safeguard your local waters. Blue Flag Canada is one of our newest initiatives, connecting millions of people to environmentally friendly beaches and marinas across the country. Firstly, thank you all so much for signing up to be a Blue Flag volunteer for our beach control visits for the summer of 2020. Hopefully you've all watched the orientation video that wonderful Sadie has put together. It was sent out on July 23rd. If you didn't receive it, please let us know and we can share it again. It's a great refresher to go back to as well. But this training session is the second step to the journey of completing your control visit in August at your selected Blue Flag beach. During this training session, you will learn a little bit more about the Blue Flag program across the world and in Canada. And we will also provide you with an overview of how this one day of volunteering is going to look like when you head out into the field. And then we'll go through the detailed questions that must be answered during your control visit at the beach. So just to recap from the orientation video, Blue Flag, the Foundation for Environmental Education, so also known as FEE or FEE, who's located in Denmark, developed the Blue Flag program and the criteria to guide beaches towards best practices for the environment, water, and people. Blue Flag certification demonstrates a community's commitment to providing a clean, safe, and accessible waterfront for everyone. So around the world, the Blue Flag communities are respected for being among the best places to live, work, and study, and also play. And we're really lucky to have Blue Flag beaches and marinas in Canada. FEE is an international non-governmental nonprofit organization that supports and helps manage the Blue Flag program across the world. So these are the people we work with directly. The Blue Flag program started in France in 1985 and has been implemented in Europe since 1987 and in areas outside of Europe since 2001, when South Africa joined the program. Today, Blue Flag has become a truly global program with an ever-increasing number of countries participating in it. At the start of 2020, Swim Drink Fish became the national operator of the Blue Flag Canada program. This means we help manage, support Blue Flag sites across Canada, helping guide site operators and people in communities wanting to have blue flags at their beaches or marinas. The Blue Flag program is the leading program promoting environmental education and sustainable management for beaches worldwide. So it's really exciting that we get to participate with it in Canada. The Blue Flag symbol and the flag itself is highly recognizable, and it's also really respected. Currently across the world, there are 464 flags flying in 46 different countries around the world. In Canada this year, blue flags were awarded by the international jury located in Denmark to 29 beaches and 9 marinas for the 2020 summer season. So why is the Blue Flag so trusted and respected across the world? Each flag is awarded for 1 year only. Everyone must reapply each year and prove that they continue to meet all the Blue Flag criteria. The criteria are divided into 4 important categories: environmental education, water quality, environmental management, and safety and services. These criteria are there to challenge local authority and beach operators to achieve high standards in each of these 4 categories. So, in addition to being awarded annually, annual control visits also help maintain the credibility of the Blue Flag symbol at beaches. By using a standardized Blue Flag beach control visit form that you all have in that link, and we'll go through this together today, you'll visit your assigned beach in August and check to see if the Blue Flag criteria are being met. Control visits are essential to ensure that the Blue Flag remains to be a trusted and respected symbol in Canada. So it's a really important thing that you will all be taking part in this summer. We also want to emphasize that control visits for Blue Flag sites are done by volunteers around the world. So this is not a new thing that we're doing this year. It doesn't require that you be an expert or have a background in water quality or environmental management. It's a really amazing way to become a part of this global network of people learning about their local beaches and marinas. But if at the end of this training session you have questions or concerns about completing a control visit, we are here to help you and help guide you and support you through your journey to completing your control visit. It shouldn't feel overwhelming. It should be really accessible. It should feel positive. So if you do have any concerns after we finish the training session, please feel free to reach out to us because we're here to help. So why do we do control visits? Firstly, it's really important to understand why we do them. So that when you're out in the field, you understand the connection to what the bigger picture is when you're conducting it. The control visit you will be doing is important because they help to ensure that the Blue Flag standards are being maintained at all the certified beaches. They're conducted to help identify and also report areas of non-compliance to the beach operator, to Blue Flag Canada, and to Swim Drink Fish. It's really important to keep in mind, though, that the control visits aren't meant to police or control the beach operator. The visits meant to help maintain and enhance the standards at the beach. And during the control visits, they should be really enjoyable and a collaborative effort. So we don't want anyone getting concerned or stressed out when they're going out. It's about a community of people working together to maintain the Blue Flag at the beaches. So what are the benefits of the control visit that you'll be doing? So how are we going to be using this information that you're gathering? So after you submit your control visit form, we at Swim Drink Fish will assess your responses against the Blue Flag program criteria. So these control visits are important because they help improve communication between Swim Drink Fish, Blue Flag Canada, the beach operator, as well as with the Foundation for Environmental Education. So at the end of the summer, so at the end of the Blue Flag season, the information you gathered will help us produce a short report for each beach, and they will be highlighting the best management practices for the beach and also helping identify places that might need improvement in order to maintain the Blue Flag standard. So during the visit, you'll go through each question on the control visit form while walking the beach and filling in the observations. The questions on the control visit form refer to Blue Flag criteria, and we encourage you to give additional comments and observations at the end of the form. We also really recommend that you emphasize the best management practices at the beach. And also at the end of the form, once it's complete, provide any further suggestions for improvements that you might see at the beach or think of while you're doing your control visit. Sorry, I've been talking a lot today, so I might drink water periodically. We do want to touch on this. Everyone is very well aware of what's happening across the world these days in terms of the pandemic that is impacting a lot of our communities. And we don't want to skip over this. This is something really important. So Swim Drink Fish has pretty strict COVID-19 measures in place. We have two items that you'll have to sign and hand over to us before you do your control visit. One is a COVID-19 agreement, and we will be sharing this with everyone who's going out to do a COVID-19 agreement, but it's a standardized form that goes over what you need to do when you conduct your control visit. So bringing as few personal items as possible, bringing your own water bottle, your own pen and paper, and practicing physical distancing. Also, if you can't physical distance, having a mask with you, and ensuring that we're protecting the public health when we're going out and conducting these control visits. In addition to the agreement, there's a short 5-question form that you will be asked to fill out and submit to us before heading into the field. This form asks standardized questions like, do you have any symptoms? Have you traveled out of the country in the past 14 days? If you answer yes to any of these types of questions, you cannot conduct your control visit. It's recommended that you self-isolate. So this will occur before you head out into your control visit. But now we're going to go on to the good stuff. So what are you going to do on the day of your control visit? The first thing is you're going to submit your COVID-19 form to Swim, Drink, Fish. And then before you actually head out to the beach, we will be putting you in contact with the site manager to arrange a preferred time for all people involved. So most of the site managers at beaches will attend or have a representative attend the control visit. However, there are some beaches where you may conduct the control visit alone, which is fine. It can be either way. So once we've coordinated with the beach manager, on the selected day, you will arrive at the Blue Flag Beach at the specified time. You want to make sure to bring your phone and obviously the control visit form that's saved on your phone. And then also a camera or your smartphone in order to take photos. We're going to ask that you take a lot of photos throughout your control visit. If you do not have a smartphone, we don't want this to be a barrier. So a hard copy can also be used. So a paper form for the control visit can be used and then submitted after the fact online through the online form. So we can arrange this for you if this is a barrier. So when you arrive, you will start filling out the form based on what you're seeing at the Blue Flag Beach. We'll ask you to take a lot of photos while conducting the visit. And then once your control visit form has been completed, you can submit all your photos via email to Swim, Drink, Fish. I'm going to flip to the form here. So these forms, what we have here is a Google form. These forms automatically upload to us via Swim, Drink, Fish. So once you start entering your information here, it will come to us directly. So you won't need to submit once you've completed it, submit this. We've made it so that you can go back and edit your responses if you make a mistake. But this will automatically upload. The only thing you'll have to share with us are the photographs that you take. Oops, sorry. So in this form that you'll receive, there will be questions that you are required to answer. So if you don't answer them, you won't be able to flip to the next section. The form I've shared with everyone doesn't have any required answers, so you can flip through. But on the day that you go, you'll have a different form that requires you to answer certain questions. So you have to make sure you answer all of them before flipping through the sections. That brings me to the next part. What are the sections of the form? And I'm going to flip back to the presentation. There we go. So the first section that you're hopefully on right now is background information. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then it goes into environmental education, water quality, environmental management, and then finally safety and services. The section 6 of the form is final remarks. So this is where you'll put comments and feedback about your site visit. So any best management practices or any things that could be improved on, and then feedback to Swim, Drink, Fish and us about the Blue Flag program. This is the first time in Canada that we're running control visits with volunteers, so we would love feedback from you on how it went, what could we improve on, what was easy, what was difficult. So the next time we do this, we can improve upon what we're doing and better prepare. So section 1, background information. Pretty self-explanatory, the date and hour of the visit, the name of the beach, the municipality you're in, your name, whether during the visit, did the site manager or staff meet you, and then if they did, what was their name? For weather, there is a caveat. Hopefully everyone will be out at the beach when it's a beautiful sunny day. However, if it is thunderstorming and there's thunder and lightning, you cannot go out, and we highly recommend that you do not go out and conduct the control visit on the beach during a thunder or lightning storm. It's very, very dangerous to be out near open water. So if this does happen, you can follow the general rule of waiting 30 minutes. If you don't hear thunder or see lightning for 30 minutes, you can go out and restart your control visit. Or if you end up being out there for a long time waiting, we likely would have to reschedule the visit. We don't want anyone to be put in any kind of danger. So that's something we'll keep in mind. Once you've completed the background information, you're going to flip to environmental education. So this is the first section of blue flag criteria. And the very first thing you're going to look for is to check to see if the blue flag is actually flying on the pole. So if it's flying, that's great. If it's not flying, then we have to understand why it's not flying. And there could be a couple reasons why the site manager has chosen not to lift the blue flag. They mainly have to do with if the beach isn't complying with water quality standards, or a test came back with high levels of bacteria, the blue flag would likely be pulled down. Also, if for some reason lifeguards can't be in place, they cannot fly the blue flag, so it won't be up. If there's an emergency on the beach, like a pollution spill, the blue flag can't be flying. So there are reasons why it wouldn't be flying. Hopefully when you arrive, it is flying, but this is something that we want to check first. We also want to check on the flag that it actually has the current year on it. So each blue flag is stamped with the current year. This is to ensure that they're flying the right flag for the certified year that they received the eco certification. So if they have 2020 stamped on the flag, that's perfect. If they don't, you would say, no, it's not the current flag on the form. And then you'd want to look around. Usually it's right near the blue flag. And you want to check to see if the beach has a blue flag information board in place. You can see an example here on the screen of one that would be seen at Tall Pines Marina. The beach blue flag boards are very, very similar to the marina ones. And you're going to want to identify certain things on this information board. So the first thing to look for is if there are understandable pictograms used on the information board. This is really important because rather than using written content, pictograms help beachgoers who might not speak the local language, English or French, who may be visiting they may be international visitors. Pictograms allow them to understand the beach map and know where there are important facilities such as lifeguards, the bathroom, the change rooms, where to find drinking water. So using pictograms is a really important part of the blue flag information board. Then you're going to want to check to see if the correct blue flag logo is used. An image of the logo is included in the form to reference to, and you would cross-reference to make sure it matches the logo you're seeing in the form. Then you want to ensure that the information about the blue flag program itself is available on the board. So this would be a brief overview of the program, and then it would outline the 4 different categories of criteria. So environmental education, water quality, environmental management, and safety and services. You want to also ensure that the correct contact information is on the board. So this would include swim, drink, fish contact information, our phone number, the website, our email, the contact information for the Foundation of Environmental Education, FEE, a phone number and an email, and then of course the contact information for the local authority. So this could be the city, the local municipality. It could also be provincial park contact information. On the board, there should also be a code of conduct for the beach. The code of conduct should include things like beach rules, no littering, no camping on the beach, no dogs, staying off sensitive habitat. So the code of conduct typically is posted on the information board. Sometimes it could be on a different visitor board as well. So you want to locate that and check to see that they have a code of conduct for the public to see. And finally, there should be information about the natural environment available on the information board or available on signs nearby significant areas. So you can see on the image here in the presentation, sand dune restoration project, do not enter. And then there is a short little paragraph of information about it. This is a perfect example of what you'd be looking for environmental education on the site. And finally, before we take a little break for questions, blue flag criteria requires beach managers to have at least 5 distinct environmental educational activities provided to the municipality or community. So we would want to check to see if the beach is going forward with some activities. However, we want to keep in mind that due to COVID-19, these activities are likely passive activities. So they could be individual scavenger hunts at the beach, so no gatherings. In many cases, these activities have been canceled at the discretion of the municipality or beach manager, which is up to the municipality to make that decision. So if it is the case that the educational activities have been canceled, we just want to confirm with them that they were canceled and the reason why. It's likely due to COVID-19, and then ask if the activities are going to be included in the 2021 season. So I've thrown a lot of information at everyone here, so I want to take a quick break, and I think some questions might have come in. I'm not sure if Sadie, you have seen any come in. And
Yeah. So far we have 2 questions that have come in. So one question from Nick, who had selected multiple sites in the Toronto area, but was also interested in starting a site closer to their location.
So where are you? We can definitely touch base about this. So Nick, you can email. At the end of the presentation, we have myself and Sadie's contact information if you don't already have it. And we can go over that with you if there's a different site you want to do.
All right, thanks so much, Elise. And the next question's from Amber. Are there new beaches to the program such that they may not have these boards installed yet?
So that's a very good question. There are 2 new beaches. There's Spruce Beach and Spine Beach in the city of Elliott Lake, 2 beautiful beaches. They originally tried to apply in 2019, but weren't approved by the national jury and fulfilled all the water quality monitoring they needed to do, so could qualified in 2020. They have all the information and have been provided templates to print boards, and I know that they're currently working on it. It could be the case that the boards aren't installed yet, but we know that it's something they're working on. Due to the pandemic, some things have been delayed, so there are definitely places like those 2 that may not have boards installed, but we know they're working on them.
Thanks so much. And then the next question from Ryan, are we expected to notify the site managers prior to our visit? I can take this one. So it depends on the site for sure, but for most of you, we will put you in touch with the site managers and inform you of their schedule, so that way you 2 can be in touch to make sure that that you're in contact prior to your visit, so that you be able to conduct the visit together. And then the next question from Shaga, if the site visit takes a few hours or if we're idle on the Google form, does the Google form time out? That's a really great question. Do you know the answer to these?
It should not time out. And I'm going to ensure to make it so you can go back and edit the form. So you should be able to go back in. It shouldn't time out. It'll be open until you complete your visit.
Great. And the next question from Moira, how do we know if there are environmental activities? Do we look for information about them, or do we look for them actually happening?
So they typically get posted on the community board. So it might not be the information board, but it would be a community board, like a TAC board that you'd see at the entrance of a coffee shop or nearby the washrooms. And they would likely be passive activities. They have, all the beach operators have submitted the activities that they plan to do. And there are several who are moving to passive education activities. If there's no information posted and we don't want you spending, 20 minutes running around looking for it, you can simply say, no, there's no, or there's no information posted. And then what that would trigger is, once we review what you've submitted, we would check in with the site operator to see how they're doing. Has there been any education activities planned, and check in with them. So you wouldn't be in charge of asking the site manager when they, asking when are they happening, what's going on. We would follow up if there are any issues with environmental education activities.
Yeah, thank you all so much so far for your questions, and please, feel free to enter questions on the side as they come up, and then we'll have another break before sort of the main question period where we'll continue to answer these questions. So thank you.
Perfect. So I'm going to switch into category number 2, which is water quality. This is a really important portion of Blue Flag. Blue Flag beaches are known for having really high water quality. So this means low levels of bacteria, and they typically pass recreational water quality guidelines frequently. So the beaches typically don't get posted. The criteria for Blue Flag is they have to meet recreational water quality guidelines 80% of the time. So people should be, 80% of the tests that they take should pass recreational guidelines. So what are we measuring when we're measuring water quality? When we're measuring recreational water quality, we're looking at the level of bacteria in the water. So we're specifically looking at E. coli and enterococci, intestinal enterococci. These two bacteria are indicator bacteria. They tell us about potential contamination from things like sewage, agricultural runoff, waterfowl, geese and ducks, dogs as well, that potentially are using the beach, swimmers in the water, as well as wildlife that surround the beaches. Water testing helps protect public health and prevent waterborne illnesses at the beach. People who are most at risk are children, the elderly, and people who are immunocompromised. With really poor, if people are swimming in water quality that has high levels of bacteria in it, typically people can become sick with things like gastrointestinal illness. They can get infections in any open wounds. They can get infections, ear infections, eye infections, throat infections. So water testing is really important. At Blue Flag beaches, they're required to do weekly water testing for both E. coli and enterococci. So what do we want to know about water quality when you arrive at the beach? The first and most important thing you want to look for is to see if the information about water quality results is available at the beach. So I'm not talking just about green and red flags. We want to see if the beach manager or the lifeguards are posting the actual level of E. coli and enterococci publicly at the beach. Typically, you will see this posted near lifeguard stands on a whiteboard. There'll be numbers like 110 E. coli per 100 milliliters of water, 60 enterococci per 100 milliliters of water. They're typically on whiteboards. They might also be presented on the Blue Flag information board. In Toronto, we know that they are posted typically near the lifeguard stands. So you want to be able to locate and find the publicly available raw test results with actual numbers. We also want to ensure that they have the date of when the last test was taken beside those test results. So if they've taken a test a month ago, that doesn't tell us anything about the current water quality. So for Blue Flag criteria, the tests have to occur weekly at the beach. So when you arrive, what you would do is, once you locate this information, you'd grab a snapshot of it, and then you would say, yes, it's presented publicly. Yes, it's less than a month old. Also, we would want you to give a rating of if the way that the beach manager is presenting the data is easy for the public to understand. So if you can't understand it, it's very unlikely other people will be able to understand it. So, but if you can understand it and it's well presented, potentially along with emoticons like green, a green smiley face, meaning it passed the test result this week, or red, it did not pass the test result. We want to know that the public can understand these results when they go to the beach and try and get the information they need before going into the water. And then finally, you actually want to go out and check the water itself. So the surface water, what does the water look like? Is there an oily film on it? Do you smell anything funky like musky or fishy, potentially sewage as well? You want to see if there's foam on top of the water, scum potentially, any discoloration. So if it's really murky or if it's a bright green color, those aren't necessarily good signs. You also want to check to see if there's floatables in the water. So floatables means floating litter in the water. It could include water bottles, chip bags, wrappers, but it also can include things like sewage contamination, so tampon applicators, those types of items. If you're seeing those, you definitely want to take a picture of them. And then also if you're seeing any extensive amount of algae in the water, that's definitely something you would want to take a photo of and notify and then fill it out on the form. Any other waste also that's affecting the beach or the water. So if you're seeing anything like that, definitely take a photo and then indicate that on the form. Before we move on, water quality is really important, so I just wanted to take a quick break to see if anyone needs clarification about water quality or anything related to that before we move forward.
So we do have another question that came in from Moira. We've had some issues with garbage on the beach at East Toronto beaches. Is this something that is included under the other waste that affects the beach/water?
Yeah, so if you're seeing that litter in the water, you definitely say, yes, there's litter, there's floatables, there's litter in the water. And then we would follow up with, Swim Drink Fish would follow up with the site manager and indicate that, can you please check the beach? We've been notified that there's litter in the water. We are going to move into environmental management, which actually includes a way to notify us about the level of litter you're seeing so we can get a better idea of what's actually happening. So that's a really good segue, Moira, into environmental management, because this is what we're going to look at for litter. So after you've completed section 1 and 2, you're going to move into environmental management. And the first question is, does the beach appear to be regularly cleaned? So if there's a lot of litter, it might not be regularly cleaned. So you would say no. But there is a rating system for us to get a better idea of what's happening. So what you're going to do is you're going to walk along the beach and you're going to try and find the dirtiest 10 by 10 meter area. So this is an estimation. You can bring a tape measure. You don't need a tape measure. You can walk 10 big steps one way and then 10 big steps at a 90-degree angle and use that as your measuring site. And then you'll take a photo of that 100-meter area. It doesn't have to be, high def. It can be just a great overshot of it. And then you're going to look through that area for bulky litter. So I'm talking about big pieces of litter, water bottles, cutlery, plates, fast food containers, chip bags, beer bottles, beer cans, that type of thing. And you're going to count the number that you're seeing in that 10 by 10 meter area. A, very clean, 0. So that's great. 1 to 3, A, clean. 4 to 10, moderately clean, it's a B rating. 11 to 25, this is really not great, so we would want to notify us as C, dirty, and then more than 25, D, very dirty. And that's all in the form. You would select the one that you've measured after you've counted the bulky litter in that area. And then within that 10 by 10 meter space, you're going to find a 1 by 1 meter area that has the most level of fine litter. So this includes small plastic fragments, cigarette butts, anything that can't easily be manually picked up and would stay on the beach for longer periods of time. Typically cigarette butts. You'd take a photograph of this 1 by 1 meter area and submit it to us. And then you would run the same procedure as you did with the bulky litter. So 0, great, very clean. 1 to 3, clean. 4 to 10, moderately clean. 11 to 25, dirty. And more than 25, very dirty.
So Elise, a question came up that I think is just really good for the time. Should we be checking litter after there's a known daily cleaning?
So if we're doing multiple control visits at a site, we would want to select it at all periods of time. So we would want to select a beach. Typically, blue flag beaches should always be clean because there should be enough garbage bins so that people aren't leaving litter. They have a place to put it. It's clearly marked where it is, so people don't feel tempted to leave it on the beach. So we really want to try and randomize it. So we don't want to be picking the best time, and we don't always necessarily want to be picking the worst time. So maybe after Canada Day, it would be, we're picking and choosing the best and the worst. So a random, we'll try and keep the date kind of random as much as we can. So I hope that answers that question before moving on. Yeah, it's tough. It's something, there's a lot of signage at Toronto beaches. Having enough garbage bins is really important. So that is also built into blue flag criteria. A lot of litter on the beach could mean that there's just not enough garbage bins. So we want to be checking that when we're out at the beach. It's part of the criteria. So you've done your assessment of the dirtiest area. Now you're going to go check out the garbage bins and the recycling bins. And you're going to make sure that there are actually garbage bins available at the beach. And then you're going to check also if there are bins or facilities that receive recyclable waste or materials near or at the beach. We also want to get a rating of, do the garbage and recycling bins appear to be regularly emptied? And then also, are there enough garbage bins or recycling bins available on the beach? So just as we know, if there aren't enough, people are going to be leaving garbage on the beach. If there aren't stationed and across the beach in easy to access areas, humans tend to leave stuff, we'll take the easy way out and may leave it on the beach, especially if there's no signage or if there's no follow-up. So we want to make sure that we're giving a rating as to if there's enough, are they regularly cleaned? If there's garbage piled up all around them and completely full, we would likely say there's not enough and they're not regularly emptied. So we want to flag that. So you wouldn't count the garbage in the garbage bin. I'm just answering a question. It would be, what if the dirtiest area is around the garbage bin? You would count the stuff that's on the ground in the sand. So not in the garbage bin, but you could likely choose that. If you're doing the 10 by 10 meter around a garbage bin, definitely grab a photo. The photos that you submit to us, if we are flagging an issue, will be submitted to site managers by us to just say, hey, we're flagging this issue. We want to make sure that we have enough bins for people. So we're almost at another break, and then we'll answer some of the questions. But I'm going to move forward a little bit. Then after completing this section, you're going to check 3 main things that are prohibited on a blue flag beach. So driving with a car is obviously prohibited. It's prohibited on most beaches, including blue flag beaches and including public beaches across Canada. So there shouldn't be cars on the beach. If there are, this would be a major issue. So that's something we would want to check. Is camping prohibited on the beach? At blue flag beaches, camping is prohibited on beaches. However, at some sites, they're in provincial parks, so there may be camping not necessarily on the blue flag beach, but up from the beach. So that is allowed as long as it's not within the blue flag area. And we'll go over how you're going to identify the area when you arrive. And then, are dogs prohibited on the beach? This typically is a difficult one for everyone. Bylaws do prohibit dogs on public beaches in Ontario. However, we do typically see a lot of dogs on the beaches. It's important that dogs aren't on blue flag beaches because when they're pooping in the sand and it rains, that's going to wash right into the swimming area, and it's going to increase levels of E. coli and impact the water quality. So that's why dogs are prohibited on blue flag beaches. If there are dog parks located nearby, typically they're fenced off, and the dogs shouldn't be entering onto the beach that's demarked as a blue flag beach. Then you're going to want to try and confirm how these rules are enforced. It could be as simply as having a sign, a bylaw signage. If there is signage, you would take a photo of it. There might also be park rangers or park patrol who attempt to control people who are bringing dogs onto the beach. And then if you are doing your control visit and you notice there's dogs on the beach when you're there, definitely grab a photo. That's something we would submit to the site manager for the beach, just to let them know that there have been sightings of dogs on the beach. And then if you're with a site manager who's with you through the control visit, you would want to likely ask them, oh, how do you control dogs on the beach? Is it in charge? Are the lifeguards in charge, or is it just enforced through signage in the code of conduct? And then looking at the bylaws, you're going to just want to look at the surrounding natural areas to see if they're well preserved. Again, you're looking for signs of debris or litter in protected areas or sensitive areas, or people who are entering into fenced off areas where there's potentially sensitive habitat like beach dunes or habitat for Fowler's toad. So we want to ensure that these natural areas are well preserved, typically by fencing that is prohibiting people from getting into them. Then you're going to want to check to see if there are aquatic plants, algae, or seaweed that are a nuisance on the beach. So this tip, a nuisance means something that's prohibiting people from going into the water. So it's aesthetically poor, it smells bad, people don't want to step on it because it's slippery and mucky. If this is the case, you definitely want to take a photograph of it, particularly if it's along the shoreline and in the water. We do know that there are issues with cladophora and then other types of algae in the Great Lakes, so this is something we want to keep an eye on. And then, of course, take a photo of the impacted area, whether that's the natural areas or algae on the beach. We're almost at a break, and then we'll get to some of the questions that have come in. But under environmental management, we want to make sure that the bathrooms and change rooms are available and open at the beach. Some places may have restrictions due to COVID-19. So this is something to keep in mind, but they should be open. If the bathrooms are closed, this can impact the local environment because people are going to find other places to go to the bathroom, which is going to have a poor impact for the environment and also water quality. We also want to make sure that these bathrooms are accessible to persons with physical disabilities. And then we want to check what types of bathrooms and change rooms are available. So is it just porta potties, or are there full facilities available with flushing toilets, showers, and change rooms? We also want to check that they have hand washing stations, soap and paper towel or towels to dry their hands. This is particularly important for this summer due to COVID-19. There should be stations for hand washing available, and also antibacterial stations to be able for people to clean their hands. We also want to give a rating about the number of bathrooms and change rooms available. So if there are huge long lineups and people aren't able to get to the bathroom in time, this is something we would want to flag, because people are going to find different places to go to the bathroom, like in a bush near the beach, which isn't great. And then you want to, if you're able to, go into the bathroom and quickly see if it's been cleaned in the recent time. Sometimes there might be a log attached to the wall that you can check, and then take a photo of the bathroom after you've given a rating as to whether it's clean or not. And then one last step for environmental management, but you're going to want to estimate how far the bathrooms and change rooms are from the beach in meters. So again, this is an estimation. You don't need a measuring tape. You can take steps, you can measure in steps or visually, however you want to do it. And then after you've checked out the facilities, take a walk around and check to see if the stairs are safe, the ramps are easy to maneuver on, the surrounding areas are well maintained, and there's no hazards to the public physically in the facilities that are surrounding the beaches. And then, last but not least, in environmental management, is there a sustainable transportation available at the beach? So this could include a bike path, a walking trail, a running trail, sidewalks, public transit, anything that gets people to the beach sustainably. And then you would select what types of public transportation you're seeing near the beach. So that's the end of environmental management. And I want to open up for questions because I think I saw a bunch come in.
Yeah, we do have quite a few questions that have come in. Give you a chance to take a quick break after all that speaking. So first we've got Shaga was asking, if we go to the beach at a time that there are many people at the beach and the dirtiest part is where people are sitting, is it okay to take photos there? So that's a great question because it probably depends. Does it look like that garbage is maybe just their garbage that they haven't put away yet, but maybe Elise has some other thoughts.
Yeah, I think using best judgment. If you're comfortable asking people if they mind, that's fine. But if there are a lot of people and you can't discreetly take a photo or you're uncomfortable taking a photo, don't take a photo. Do the rating, and we'll follow up with the site manager on what the finding is. Again, yeah, if it appears to be their garbage, we would hopefully assume that they throw it away. But if it's garbage that has clearly been left behind, that's something we would want to check for.
Awesome. And the next question, are we focusing only on the area that is bounded by swim zone markers? Because some Toronto beaches are bordered by areas that maybe aren't official swim zones, but are highly used.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the next section, which is safety and services, I'll help delineate what a blue flag beach means. But on the beach map as well, the swimming area is demarked on the map itself on the information board. So that will give you a sense of where that blue flag beach starts and ends. In Toronto, there's clear markers of where the start and end is, and there's also typically buoyed lined, and you're only focusing on that marked area for blue flag. So anything outside of that isn't considered blue flag. You definitely can still flag it and take photos and say, while this isn't in the blue flag area, this is a problem here. And it is something that we can flag because blue flag is in the catch-all for everything. Definitely other parts of the beach that's used, we want to definitely flag if there's a garbage issue for sure.
And then we also had a question about water quality because Toronto has had warnings last weekend due to high levels of E. coli and people aren't recommended to swim at those sites. So is there a part on the form to report this? Especially since a few blue flag beaches have been have exceeded the E. coli levels.
Yeah, so if you arrive at the beach and there's a red flag up, which typically means that it hasn't passed standards, then the flag shouldn't be flying. Now, we don't want to put any of you in a position where you feel uncomfortable telling the beach manager, oh, you have to take the flag down. So that's totally not up to you, but it's something that you would flag. You would take a photo of the information board where the last result is, and send that to us. At the end, before you go into your control visit, you will have my phone number. So when you do go out, if there is a situation where you're unsure what the next step is, you can always give me a call or send me a text. Typically, when blue flag beaches are posted, meaning they didn't pass recreational water qualities, there has to be those clear warning signs. So red flags go up. Lifeguards typically tell people not to go in the water or that there's high levels of E. coli and indicate to people where they can shower off if they have gone into the water. I was out at, I think it was Hugh Balmy and Woodbine, and yeah, they both failed pretty. They had high levels of E. coli last weekend, and we did hear the lifeguards saying, get out of the water. We touched base with the lifeguards also asking, do do you know you have to take the blue flag down? This is something we're working on with the City of Toronto, engaging with them to ensure that they know that if a beach fails, that flag has to come down. So thank you for that question, Maria. Did that clarify it or confuse it?
And when in doubt, take photos. I think as always, we'll always appreciate extra photos.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then the next question from Moira, what's a natural surrounding area versus just a surrounding area? So does it mean that there's an area with trees around?
So at Blue Flag beaches, if there is sensitive habitat, there will be a fenced off area that is protected. So that is the natural surrounding area that we're looking for. If it's just, trees in a parking lot, that's not what we're looking for. But for example, at Cherry Beach, the dunes behind would be something that you're looking at as well. You don't have to go all the way in, but you want to make sure that things aren't getting trampled on. So any fenced area that's clearly marked as sensitive habitat is what we're focusing on.
Great. So I hope okay, great. And then our last question is about a beach that doesn't yet have a blue flag. So I think we're both probably curious about which beach this is because we're always keeping our eye out for which beaches should have a blue flag. So this site takes samples for E. coli, but maybe not for enterococci yet. Is this standard water quality testing? Yeah, so part of the blue flag criteria is that they do have to monitor for both. Elise, go ahead and you can dive into that.
Yeah, just as you said, so they do have to monitor for both. Blue Flag uses the International Water Quality Directive, so it's a European directive, and they test for both E. coli and enterococci, or the way Sadie said it. There's a big debate on how to actually say it. I don't know. No one knows. But they have to test for both at freshwater and marine water. In Canada, our federal guidelines typically say E. coli for freshwater, enterococci for marine water, but we know that enterococci is a more stable bacteria, and that's why for blue flag they're testing for both. It is not typical in Canada that the public health unit in Ontario, for example, would test for both. So what municipalities have done is they've contacted a local lab and they've set up a chain of custody and then taken single samples for enterococci. You have to take a minimum of 5 per season, but if you're applying, you'd have to take 20 in the season before. Single samples, so you're not taking 5 across the beak, you're taking a single sample and you bring it to the local lab that you've signed an agreement with, and they would process it and you would submit it within your application. So it's a really good question. It's not a standard test. We hope it becomes a standard test in Canada at one point because entero is an important thing to monitor for. Great question.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Christiane. And if you are asking about a specific beach, please send me an email and we can dive into it a little bit more if you need any more advice.
Thank you for the shout out.
Yeah, we love swim guide shout outs.
Yeah, we're trying to support blue flag beaches, helping share their data through swim guide. So this is something we're actively working on. And Bruce, to your comment, we're actively working with Toronto. It's something that we're going to try and fix for the season, is that when they fail, those flags have to come down. So thank you for pointing that out. We're very close to the end. I'm sorry, there's one more section. If you do have to sign off, no worries. We've recorded it, so we will share it again so you can watch this last bit. But we're going into a pretty important section, safety and services. So this is really about protecting people from water injuries, drowning, anything of the sort like that. So it's an important part of Blue Flag. They have some really great criteria here. And then the Canadian Life Saving Society as well is an active member of the national jury who helps us with some of these criteria at the beaches. So safety and services, final section. First thing, typically public beaches across Canada are free to access. So if it is not free, definitely flag this. The beach should be free to access. If there is a fee, let us know what it is. And then number 2, is the access to the beach safe? So this means, has there been erosion? Are the pathways clear? Are there steep cliffs nearby? Is it safe to physically get onto the beach? Things can change really rapidly on shorelines, so making sure that people can access the beach safely is really important. And then, are there lifeguards on the site? So typically all blue flag beaches for this season have lifeguards. However, the 2 located in provincial parks do not have lifeguards, and we'll go through the criteria for when there are no lifeguards on the blue flag beach. But you want to check that the lifeguards are physically in the station when you head to your control visit. If you do want to chat with the lifeguards, make sure they're off duty. Typically, it's not great practice to go chat with them while they're watching the water. There's typically lifeguards who are off duty that you can chat with. Definitely feel free to head over there if you have questions for them. Then you want to check to see if there are enough lifeguards to serve the whole beach. So typically there are 2 lifeguards for every 200 meters of beach. So you're going to want to count the number of lifeguards at the beach. Are they easy to locate? So the lifeguards in this photo here are very easy to locate. They have a huge station, so people know exactly where they are. If you cannot find them, it's likely that the public can't find them. So this is something that you want to flag. And then near the lifeguard station or on the information board, there should be the times posted of when the lifeguards are actually physically present at the beach for the public to refer to if they need to. So we want to make sure that that is publicly available. So if there are no lifeguards at the beach, this is relevant for Wasaga and Outlet. So Sandbanks Provincial Park, because they're both in provincial parks and there's no lifeguards at provincial parks. We want to check to make sure that the beach is equipped with life-saving equipment. You'll want to also make sure the life-saving equipment is easy to locate. And then, does it seem that there's enough equipment to serve the whole beach? So the recommendation for Blue Flag is that there's a pole with life-saving equipment on it every 100 meters. So you'd want to count the poles that you see. Then you'd want to head over to one of the poles with life-saving equipment and identify which is included on the beach. So it could include a life hook, a life raft, a personal flotation device, so a PFD, a torpedo buoy, and you would want to check mark each one that you're seeing. And then you want to check to see if the life-saving equipment is in working order. So if it's broken, then it's not useful to the public. So you want to make sure that there's nothing missing, that everything's there, the life ring isn't cracked in half, anything of the sort like that. After that, then you would want to ensure that there's an emergency telephone at or near the beach. Again, keep in mind, if you've spent 10 minutes trying to locate an emergency telephone, it is very likely that the public will not be able to locate this phone. So this is definitely something you'd want to flag. You want to think about so the second question is the phone at a reasonable distance from anywhere on the beach? You want to think about if there's someone who is in the water in distress, how long would it take you to run from where you are to the emergency phone to call for emergency services? If it's 500 meters and it takes you 10 minutes to get there, that's not very effective. So we want to keep in mind, if the public needs to use these services, is it available to them? And then we move into first aid equipment. It's the same idea. So is it offered at the beach? Is it easy to find? So is it clearly signposted? Can the public easily access it? If it's not, and you're having to spend a bunch of time trying to locate it, it's likely not accessible to the public. There should also be a sign that indicates when the first aid equipment is available. And then if you can, you'd want to check to make sure it's in working order. Finally, you'd want to check if there is a source of potable water, a drinking fountain, a place to fill your water bottle. So Fountains during COVID-19 potentially are covered because they can't be sanitized. This has been something that we're working actively with Blue Flag International. So it is something that definitely is something you will run into, and it is okay if they're covered. We want to protect public health. Beachgoers have been informed to bring water bottles at places where the water fountains have been covered. If they're there and working, that's great. If they're not, it's not imperative that they be, but it's just if we'd want to check to see if they actually are there. And then now we're going to talk about what the beach area means. So does the beach have a beach warning or a beach zoning system? So we touched on this in a question. In Toronto, it's pretty easy to identify. There's typically red and yellow flags indicating the start and the end of each beach, so from one side to the other. And then within the water, blue flag beaches have to have a swimming area zoned to avoid boat and swimmer conflict. So we don't want any swimmers out in the water at risk of being hit by boats. So the blue flag area should have a marked zone in the water, as well as flags indicating the start and the end of the beach. Typically looking like something like this. And finally, something really, really important and amazing that the Blue Flag program ensures occurs at Blue Flag beaches is accessibility for all those who want to enjoy the beach and the water. So we want to check if there's accessible parking available. So you'd say yes or no. And then we want to make sure that there's access to the beach for persons with a physical disability. So this means boardwalks that can easily be navigated on a wheelchair, trails that are paved well, there's no obstructions for people to physically get out onto the beach. Finally, we want to make sure that there's access to the water for persons with a physical disability. So this means Moby mats or ramps that go directly into the water, or at several locations, there's wheelchairs that actually have large, big tires and waterproof material where people can reserve a time slot and physically go into the water. So these are really amazing things to see. And if you're seeing these aspects at the beach, definitely take photos. We want to highlight these types of things. And finally, is there access to the water for the visually impaired individuals or blind people? So this is a guideline criteria. However, it is a best management practice, and it's something we want to see more of at Blue Flag beaches across Canada. This could include a rope for guiding people into the water who are visually impaired, or any other type of best management practice you're seeing so people can access the water freely and openly. So keep in mind, access to the water in a city like Toronto. So Blue Flag requires that only one beach offer this. In Toronto, there are several beaches that do offer this, so that's great. In places like City of Elliott Lake, one of the two beaches, Spruce or Spine, must be offering access to the water for people with physical disabilities. We know that Spruce and Spine, City of Elliott Lake, is working with an accessibility committee this summer. So they are working on this and moving forward with this. So we want to see what their progress is like during the control visit. So the time it takes to conduct a control visit really depends on the size of the beach and how easy it is to find the requirements. A typical control visit can take 60 to 90 minutes. However, if it's taking you a lot longer to locate these specific items, keep in mind this could be a reflection that it may be very difficult for the public to also locate these items. So if you're getting up to the 90-minute mark and you haven't succeeded in making it through, you can definitely touch base with me. But keep in mind, if it's not easy to find, you can simply say, no, I couldn't find it on the form, and we'll follow up with the site manager to see what's going on and if there's anything that we're missing. Thank you for your patience. I know we've gone a little bit over here, but we would like to open it up to questions that are pressing before we say our final thank yous.
All right, so we have a question about when we say the beach is posted. Um, so it means that it did not pass the water quality or if it's dirty. So I'll pass that to Elise.
Yeah, posted or an advisory means it didn't pass recreational water quality standards. So there's a big difference between advisories and closures. When a beach is posted, or if an advisory is placed at a beach, it means it failed the most recent recreational water quality standards. So the bacteria levels were higher than the local standard allowed. When there's a beach closure, this typically means there's a bigger issue happening. It could be blue-green algae bloom or unsafe access. So advisories and posted, it doesn't mean the beach is closed. It means water quality didn't meet the local guideline.
Great. And the next question, we look for sufficient lifeguards between the blue flags, right? Not outside them?
Yeah, so it would be between the zones marking the start and the end of the beach. So there's usually one pole for a blue flag, but the beach will be marked by, typically it's yellow and red flags on, let's say it's the east end and the west end, so across the shoreline, and then also within the buoyed swimming area of the blue flag. So yeah, you're only looking in at the specifically marked place for that's blue flag.
And then, do the life-saving equipment requirements apply to beaches with lifeguards when lifeguards are off duty?
No. So typically, life-saving equipment isn't left on the lifeguard chairs. When lifeguards are off duty, it's a swim at your own risk that's posted, usually a sign's posted. Life-saving equipment typically is also put away at the end of the day. So when the beach closes for the public hours, life-saving equipment typically can be locked up. The use of cell phones cell phones have really aided in this for sure. But if, let's say, you don't have your cell phone on you, you've left it, at your beach area, you've gone for a walk, you see someone's in distress, or you've gone for a swim and you see someone's in distress, we want to make sure that there is an emergency phone available for those cases where people don't have their cell phone handy, or they've dropped it in the water and it's, there's all things. We want to make sure everyone is able to get help if they need it. Should first aid offered by lifeguard also be available when they're off duty? No. So that's why we ask, what is the time that the first aid equipment is available? At Blue Flag beaches, it can't be available 24/7. So typically it's when the beach opens and the beach closes, which can be anywhere from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So it should be available when the beach is open.
Okay, and then is the site manager going to follow us while we're doing the site visit?
So typically we would hope that this would be a really collaborative effort. So yeah, they would hopefully guide you through the site visit, take you to where all the things that you're looking for and explain some things about the beach. If you have the opportunity to meet the site manager, it's really amazing because they likely know a lot about the beach and can really help with the control visit. If you are by yourself, you wouldn't be followed by the site manager. You'd be doing it on your own.
So life-saving equipment is required when lifeguards are off duty and the beach is open by the Life Saving Society. Should these not correlate as the beach must meet their audit?
That's a good question. So for blue flag criteria, actually, yeah, you're right. So the life-saving equipment, that would be something that we would have to check in with if they're following it at blue flag beaches. In Toronto, I don't typically see life-saving equipment left at the lifeguard stations. I think it's usually put away, but definitely something to keep in mind when you're out. And if you have a site manager with you, that's something you can ask for sure.
Yeah, that's a great question. We might want to look into that. And Madeline, how are we to get in contact with the site manager upon arrival? So we will be putting you in contact with the site manager even before you arrive, so that way you can coordinate your exact times and where you're going to be meeting.
Stolen. Yeah, that's an issue. And that's why sometimes uh, it gets put away because it continues to get taken. So, oh, Bruce, I think I know who you are. Bruce Holloway. I think, okay, we should connect because this is something that we want to work with because especially with COVID-19 happening, there is big concern for safety along beaches and across waterfronts when emergency services are less available. So let's connect on this. I'm glad I think we've been connected via email. So we'll touch base more on this.
Okay, so I think that unless I accidentally skipped a question, I think that's all the ones that we have for now. I would like to say that there are definitely some, well, there are beautiful beaches that need volunteers like you. So some of them are already obviously have the blue flag, and we just need to do a control visit to make sure that they meet these standards. But then, of course, across Canada, we have all sorts of beautiful beaches that have excellent water quality and excellent amenities, but maybe are not yet considered for blue flag. Maybe they aren't aware of such a designation. So some of you volunteers who may have attended this workshop today might not have any blue flag beaches near you, but that doesn't mean that we don't need your help. We absolutely do. So please reach out to me at sadie@swimdrinkfish.ca, and we can try and find some locations. I know that we had some folks who signed up from Vancouver, from Edmonton, from Ottawa, and from Oshawa. So thank you so much. And I'd just like to thank you all so much, first of all, for signing up for this and for signing up to conduct your control visit. With that said, I'd just like to inform you that some sites were a lot more popular than others. For example, Cherry Beach had 37 signups, and then some other super popular ones were Kew Balmy and Woodbine. But then we also have some other regions where we don't have any signups. So specifically Tall Pines Marina in Kenora, we don't have anyone. And Abueto Beach in Kapolei in New Brunswick, we don't have anyone yet. And some other potential regions, if you know anyone who might be interested, or if you're have family nearby that you'd like to visit, we do need some folks in Sarnia, Municipality of Land and Shores, Port Stanley, Municipality of West Elgin, Sudbury, Elliott Lake, Magog in Quebec, Shediac in New Brunswick, and Halifax in Nova Scotia. So thank you all so much. And thanks so much for your time. And thank you for your interest in the Swim Drink Fish and Blue Flag Canada program. Elise, do you have any last words to add?
No, I think you summed it up great. Again, from myself as well, thank you all for sticking through this. I know it took a bit longer than what we expected. And yes, any connections you have across Canada, people who want to get out, visit a beach, connect with the site manager, or just spend some time outside, feel free to send them our way. So the emails here, it's just our names, Elise@swimdrinkfish.ca and Sadie@swimdrinkfish.ca. So please reach out. I will, logistics for the next steps. Sadie and I are going to be meeting next Tuesday to go through all the signups and registrations and assigning people to beaches that they've requested. We will be touching base if we have a huge amount for one site like Cherry Beach to see if there's any other locations that you might be willing to travel to. But we'll be in touch next week to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, so stay tuned for those emails. And just remember that this work is really important because it's all working towards all of our collective goal of achieving a swimmable, drinkable, and fishable future.
Great.
Thank you all so much.
And with
we'll
that,
stay on if there's any last questions.
Yeah, for sure. We can stay off, but we'll say bye now. Stay on if anyone wants to unmute and ask, but we'll let people go.